Thank you, all of you that had something to do with putting this together. All of the candidates, we appreciate it. Let me start with, this is kind of like, I feel like Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. You've been getting half of the truth or partial truth. I'm going to give you a lot more of the truth than you've ever heard before. To start with tonight, the crime in Citrus County over the past 4 years is up 12.8%. We're not the second safest county in the state. I'll be talking about that as we go on through the evening. My opponent is going to sit here and try to discredit the messenger, that's me. Going to label me. Going to label me in a number of ways. Going to tell him I'm uneducated, I'm unqualified, unethical, I like to cherry pick. What else? Political noise. That's whenever he doesn't have an answer for what I'm putting out there. It's political noise. And then my personal favorite is I'm using scare tactics. I'm trying to scare you. Ladies and gentlemen, all of you have one of these on your seat. Look at it. I didn't make this up. This is Florida Department of Law Enforcement. See where Citrus County is down here? Does that look like you're the second safest county in the state? No, it doesn't. Ladies and gentlemen, it's all about leadership. That's what he keeps saying. It's about leadership. And he is right. It is about leadership. He touts his leadership schools. Folks, I graduated from one of the top 5 leadership schools in the free world known today. And on my diploma, it said honorable discharge. And I was an E5 when I came out. That's the highest you can get in a 4-year term. As your county commissioner over the past 4 years, for the first time in the history of Citrus County, we have cut spending in Citrus County by over $50 million. Never been done before in over 125 years. That is leadership in action. Thank you. I look forward to the questions this evening. Thank you.
Well, good evening. And you know, the office of sheriff is the most important local position you're going to vote on. And my opponent does say that I say he's unqualified, because he is. Qualifications is the most important aspect of this job. I hold a master's degree in business, a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. I've held every position within the law enforcement function from deputy all the way up to the rank of captain, and then I've been your sheriff for the last 16 years. My opponent has no formal education, has no experience in supervision, has no experience in management schools. He has never even run a detail. My opponent says that he's a commissioner, he can run the sheriff's office. There's no correlation. You do the study. There is no correlation. And the United States Army, I'm glad he was in the United States Army, and I'm proud he was in the United States Army, but being a sergeant does not give you the opportunity to be the sheriff or the knowledge to be the sheriff. Let's talk a little about money, okay? Because you know the two driving factors that we use to keep you safe are how we budget our money. And ladies and gentlemen, the two driving factors are you and your family. We also look at our officers and our firefighters, and that's how we spend our money, to keep them safe. We've reduced our budget by over $4 million over the last 5 years. And let's talk about Tax Watch, an independent organization that comes down that he touts as a commissioner of what they've said about how the Board of County Commissioners run their organization. The state average is about $580 per person. You here in Citrus County spend $237 per person. Now let's look at security. He says since 2012 or 2007, crime's up. Well, let me go back to 1998, because if we want to use long numbers, you're safer now than you were when I took office. We've reduced crime, and you're less likely to be a victim of a crime now than you were in 1998. Thank you.
Sheriff Dawsy.
Yes, sir.
I'll begin the first question with you.
Okay.
Commissioner Webb says he was declined promotion during his tenure in the sheriff's office because he supported another candidate in 1996 rather than you. Is that true?
No, but let me explain something to you. Commissioner Webb, who said in the newspaper that came out just recently, said he has placed as low as 5th, or as high as 5th, excuse me, or as high as 4th. I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, if you're 4th and 5th, you ain't being promoted to a supervisor position in my organization, and that came out of his lips. Okay? Honestly, ladies and gentlemen, we have a great promotional process that's in place. We look at an exam, we look at an oral board, we have a management review, and then the 2 top candidates come in front of me. And I have to tell you, there is people standing out there right now that didn't support me. One is a captain. One is over my crime analysis unit, who's a manager there. And let me tell you, Hootie Wilkins, who he supported, was offered a position if he wanted to stay with me, but he wanted to go in private enterprise, and Larry Skidmore stayed with me as a civil sergeant. He just couldn't make the grade. He didn't prepare himself to meet the financial and management requirements and the educational requirements to be a supervisor within my organization.
Commissioner Webb, how would you respond to what Sheriff Dawsy just said?
Well, I don't expect him to admit it, and I don't expect the people that talked to me and told me I was not going anywhere. I could have a job, but that was it. I don't expect them to admit it either. The reality of it is there are people sitting here today with green shirts on. They're not going to say a word because he signs their paycheck. It's as simple as that. It is true.
Thank you.
Next question. Address this. We'll start with Mr. Webb and then with Mr. Dawsy. What is the county's most pressing law enforcement issue, and what can you do about it?
I would say the most pressing right now is drugs. Obviously, over the past 8 months, there's been 26 drug houses. These didn't happen here. If you look at all of the crime statistics, they're based around drugs. If you look at burglaries, if you look at robberies, they're based on the drug community. If you look at the confidential informant that was just executed in our streets, that was drug related. She was a confidential informant, and they put 23 cases together with her name on it. That was nothing more than a bad element in our community that just went out there with the intent to execute this young woman and leave 2 children behind, and they just snub their noses at the sheriff's office, at the sheriff, at the citizens, because they don't have any respect for us. It's time that we had brought respect back to Citrus County. You did not hear the sheriff come out and make any kind of a public press release. It's no comment. No comment. He's leading from the rear. You can't hide in the cloakroom when it's time to give your book report.
Well, you know, it's just not one issue of being drugs or burglaries or armed robberies. In this community here, we attack it through a process called intelligence-led policing. Intelligence-led policing is specifically doing this, taking the limited amount of resources that we have and going ahead and attacking certain problems. And the certain problems we look at is burglaries. It's the #1 crime in the United States. We also look at pills, and we look at meth labs. And I must tell you, I'm very proud of my organization because I got to tell you, the meth labs, we're second in the state for closing them down. Okay? I'll also tell you that synthetic marijuana is probably the key issue that we have right now affecting our young people. And instead of trying to legislate something you can't wrap your hands around, we're going to the different convenience stores within our community and asking them with us to pledge, leadership from the front, if I must say, to pledge that they will not sell that. And at this particular time, voluntarily, okay, we have about 85 to 90% of all the convenience stores that are signing a contract with us to not sell that stuff to our kids. It's not one-dimensional drugs. It's many-dimensional. And let me clarify one thing. Political noise is not having the knowledge to answer the question, not answering it. Okay, that's political noise.
This question's for both candidates, and I would like Commissioner Webb to respond first. Was moving fire services to the sheriff's office a good idea, and should it continue?
Good question. I did not think it was a good idea for one reason and one reason only. And that was, it was going to cost extra money to transfer it. Period. It's not that I don't think the sheriff can hire a fire chief. It's not that I don't think the county administrator can hire a fire chief. It's a matter of, it's going to cost you, the taxpayers. And it did. We had to make 2 subsequent, within weeks, extra money to go to the sheriff's office to take care of that. And the sheriff continues to say how much he has done without raising the budget that we gave him. But he doesn't tell you who paid for those buildings, who paid for the roof on those firehouses. County Commission. But he likes to take credit for it because he didn't raise the budget for the firemen. No, he just tells you half-truths. He doesn't tell you the whole truth. And that's what I'm talking about, leading from the front. You don't change the numbers in order to confuse the public. Lay them out there and let the public make their own decision.
Ladies and gentlemen. Okay, one of the things I will say, I'll give credit to the Board of County Commissioners. They're divesting themselves of all public safety responsibilities, and I think it's a good thing because they're not focused on handling public safety operations. And that's the reason why the fire service is under our direction. Do I think it's a good place? Sure is. It's government doing things differently. How did we do things differently? We restructured the whole place. Do you know, underneath his leadership, as he says, leading from the front in the fire service, that at 5 o'clock, you had no command structure in the fire service. They all went home. Now you have a battalion chief that's on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Did you know that with the money that they gave us, we were able to restructure a very fat training division, take that money, partner with the superintendent of schools, in which we were able to take that money, make them contract employees, save the money, and it turned into 9 firefighters. That didn't come from repairing a roof. Okay? 9 firefighters, people, opened up 3 stations. And more important, we now answer medical calls that save your life. We are very, very flexible, and we function very well with EMS. How effective? In Sugar Mill Woods, the response time under his leadership was 14. Responsiveness underneath mine is 8 minutes. DeRosa, almost 16. Underneath mine, 10. Floral City, 15.4 now, 9. Underneath my leadership, 8. You know the reason why they had to replace the roof in Homosassa? Is because it doesn't meet code. The trusses are breaking. And the men and women that serve you in EMS and fire live underneath those type of issues, underneath their leadership. Over the next 4 years as your sheriff, I am going to eliminate that, put them in better equipment, give them better money, and give them better facilities. That's leadership.
One of the issues in this campaign that's been raised has been about budgets. Should the sheriff post his line item budget on the sheriff's office website, similar to what's done with county or cities? Sheriff Dawsy first, then Mr. Webb.
You know, I have no problem. Actually, I bring my line item budget. Anybody would like to see it, please bring it with. It's over 400 some odd pages. We'll look at it. My opponent thinks I took 19 pages and spread it out over 433. It's impossible. But he has said that. But I have no problem putting it on the website. But let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. That budget, okay, is a living, breathing document. That's not how I'm going to spend the money, and I've always said that. I'm going to move it around. He does it in where he's at. But let's look at the budget. See, what he doesn't tell you, he says I only give half truths, is that the Board of County Commissioners over the last several years have given me additional responsibilities that are not in statutorily my responsibility. We have a consolidated dispatch. Nobody pays up till this year when I made EMS, a private public organization, pay in for just 2 dispatches. But they don't pay for any capital improvements. They don't pay for any equipment. They just pay for 2. That was under their leadership. Animal control is now underneath my responsibility. That's $600,000. Okay? I also added an animal control officer under the same money that they functioned under and didn't raise the budget. Courthouse security. I'm only responsible for securing the judges. They gave me the responsibility right after 9/11 to secure the whole courthouse. That's additional monies. Those particular areas, and emergency management, emergency management isn't usually under the Office of Sheriff, usually equates to about $1.6 million increase on my budget. But we do have a line item budget. We've reduced our budget by over $4 million. And ladies and gentlemen, if you take all emergency services, let me just make this one point. Okay? The normal cost to a citizen is about $738 for all those services. You spend about $401. That's leadership from the front.
Commissioner Webb?
Thank you. He did say something there that was the truth. He does move it around as soon as he gets it. Whatever goes into one account is gone. You may put it into special operations, but as soon as it goes there, as soon as the budget is passed, it's gone. I know. I've been there. I've had to work with it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's all the same shell game. It's move the money around. He said that before, and I'm fully concurrent. You can't keep the same way we're going. An itemized line item budget. Where is the money being spent? Look at his budget. I ask you to look at his budget. I asked recently about his budget. I said, how many cars, marked units, did you purchase? Told me. How many this year? How many did you purchase last year? He told me. I said, how many do you have in stock? That's too ambiguous. Yes. What about unmarked? Same thing. Told me how many he bought last year, how many he's going to buy this year. How many do you have in stock? Well, that's too ambiguous. That's what I'm talking about. You only get half truths, ladies and gentlemen. He's a great song and dance salesman. I mean, if he was in the Old West, he would be selling the snake oil and you'd be buying it. Full deal.
It's a good part-time job when I retire. I can sell snake oil.
Yeah.
Every election for sheriff, one of the issues that always comes up is about deputies and non-sworn sheriff's employees taking sheriff office vehicles home with them. Sheriff Dawsy, what is your position on allowing deputies and non-sworn sheriff's employees to take home their vehicles?
Well, I'm looking for a piece of paper because my opponent over here tells me, or tells everybody here in the community, that we have 40 civilian cars that civilians take home. Now, that is true. But I will tell you that's only partial the story. And he says, that's how he's going to lower your budget. Well, let me explain something to you. You know, we lost the CPI function here because of a local legislator that went to Tallahassee and forced it out of my hands, which are now endangering your children, okay? Now, I will tell you something. Okay, wait. Okay, anytime you would like to figure out how to do that, but 24 of those 40 cars are CPIs, and they were never in my budget. So now you're down to a much lower number. Now, I have no problem with the people I assign these to. 7 are to animal control for efficiency and effectiveness of the operation. They go immediately out on the street from their houses in a dispatch to keep you safe. And also underneath my direction versus when it was under the Board of County Commissioners, they respond 24 hours, 7 days a week. My forensics people have a vehicle they take home because they respond to crime scenes. ID and evidence is one of them. Building maintenance, I have one guy that does building maintenance, and he responds 24 hours, 7 days a week. And my fleet maintenance guys have take-home cars. I have no problem with that allocation. Okay? No problem at all. I will tell you that the law enforcement officers, okay, we could not recruit law enforcement officers if we didn't give them the take-home car program. That is throughout the state of Florida. Every sheriff's office and every large municipality and small municipalities, English, has the take-home car system. So I have to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that's the way of doing business, and we will continue to do business that way.
Commissioner Webb. Sheriff Dawsy says he has no problem with how he's allocating take-home cars. Do you have any problems with it?
Well, that's exactly the point. He said as long as he's sheriff, he's going to continue to operate this way. You have a choice this year. Do you continue to operate this way? Do you continue to spend the money the way we've been spending it? Or do you start looking at ways to cut the fat from the budget? I've said it before. That should not be a part of the budget. I think it's critical that each one of us, when we go to work, we drive our own personal car. Why is it that these individuals get gas cards, they get their insurance for the cars, and who pays for it? You do. This is your money. It's your sheriff's department. I encourage you, you have an opportunity this year to make some changes. Do you want to keep doing it the way we're doing it, or do you want to make some changes where you get some bang for your buck? You get some of the money back. I can take that money, I can put it on the officers on the street. They haven't had a pay raise in 5 years. Why? You know, it's amazing. They couldn't give a pay raise in 2009, but he could make 5 new captain's positions. That's amazing to me. No, it's top heavy. It's always been top heavy, and it's getting worse, not better. And if you want to keep doing it the same way, you know who you elect. And if you want change, you know who you elect.
One more question, final question. Commissioner Webb, you said that you would reduce or eliminate the sheriff's use of aircraft.
Yes. I will eliminate.
Is that a good idea?
I will eliminate some of it, and I will reevaluate some of it. And I will cut down the hours of flight time. And the reason I will do that, quite frankly, I talked to another sheriff who also has helicopters, and he advised that because of the cost of fuel and the budget crisis that they were under, he puts those aircraft up when he needs an aerial platform or when he's doing search and rescue, because they're also a coastal county. As far as I'm concerned, we have to do the same thing. We can't keep flying these helicopters every night of the week, doing patrol, every weekend. The bad guys know when we're coming anyway, because it's the same time frame in the same neighborhoods. It's not like you're fooling anybody. The neighbors tell you what time the helicopters do. The twin-engine fixed wing is going on either government.com or eBay as soon as I'm elected. As soon as we can get the paperwork done and it can be sold. It's a useless white elephant for us to hang on to. He said before that he uses it for surveillance and he transports inmates. We haven't had the jail in years. We don't transport inmates. That's ridiculous.
Sheriff Dawsy?
My opponent doesn't understand one thing about the contract with CCA. CCA only transports prisoners within CCA's boundaries of Citrus County. They don't have the authority to go out. So who do you think transports the prisoners? We do. Let's talk about that plane. It costs you $5,000 a year in insurance. We use it for many different things. We use it for surveillance. We use it for transporting our investigators. We use it for going ahead and picking up high-profile prisoners such as John Cooey and other people that we've had out there. So we have used it. Let's talk about the helicopter. Once again, he doesn't understand tactical deployment of men. That is a force multiplier, but I've got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, at nighttime, you're not normally out there. It is a very dangerous community, and my responsibility to my employees is to keep them safe. It's a very dangerous community. Now, that's laughter from community that don't understand what my men and women go through at nighttime. This particular helicopter goes up for several things. Okay? When we have a prowler at somebody's house, all right, that helicopter goes immediately to that location, goes up there and can tell the ground troops that are responding what they particularly see. And I have to tell you, that's worth the money that I had that helicopter up there. Last week we were searching for a young lady that ran away from home. She had some mental issues. She was, I think, a medical concern to this particular community and to her family. That helicopter was able to find her with the infrared when she was located up in the tree. There's a lot of value. When we have a pursuit, that helicopter takes over the pursuit and lowers the liability and lowers the danger of the men and women that are out there and the citizens are out there. You see the horrendous accidents that occur when we bring those cars up. The more I can minimize on this end, the better we are on this end. And this helicopter, plus all the other components that I have within our organization, is a total package to attack the crime issues that are in our community. Well, let me first thank the sponsors, the Chronicle and the college, and for everybody, including my opponents' supporters that are out here. But you know, the office of sheriff is the most important local position that you will elect. It is about your safety. And you know, since I've been your sheriff, I've had some great opportunities to do some wonderful things within our community. Let's just talk about the Seniors versus Crime. The Seniors versus Crime is a volunteer organization that goes ahead and looks at the way seniors are treated by some unscrupulous business activities. And we've been able to bring over $2 million back to our seniors within this community. We've revitalized our SRO program. Thank you. We have revitalized our SRO program. It has been recognized on the nation twice as being one of the top SRO programs in our country. If you go to National Sheriff's Association website and you look for model SROs, you know who they have there? Yours, the Citrus County Sheriff's Office. Let's talk a little bit about accreditation. You know, we strive to put the best possible product on the street. And we do that through accreditation because we get to look at the way we do business versus the way other people do business. And what that does is it limits the liabilities because that truly is the right way to do business. How else would you want to compare your job and your efficiency out there unless you're compared to somebody else? We're nationally accredited. We're state accredited. Our communications center is nationally accredited, and it's one of 50 in the United States. The fire services. The fire services now answer medical calls. We've opened those 3 stations. We've put 9 more firefighters on there. If you become a victim of crime, one of the great things about our agency is that we have a higher clearance rate than the state average, by about 8%. So if, God forbid, you do become a victim, it's more likely for us to solve it here. Those are the true stories. He looks and takes 2007, he says in the last 4 years, I have to tell you the way I count, that's 5. 07, 08, 09, 10, 11, 12. If you take 07 out of the mix, in 08, we reduced, crime went up by 1%, 09 by 0.33. Last year, it's down by almost 9%. This year, too, it's down by almost 9%. Okay, we attack it through a very focused program called the ILP. And I know I've gone over my time, but let me just finish this. I ask for your support because my main passion, besides my family, is you, the citizens out there. And I will tell you that if you afford me the next 4 years, you will continue to be my #1 priority so that I can keep you the second safest, if not the first safest county in the state of Florida. You will always be, and you are, my #1 priority. Thank you very much.
I, too, want to thank the Chronicle and the college for providing this venue, for all of the volunteers and on both sides for being here this evening, the sheriff for putting on such a great defense of his position. As I said before, I was going to be labeled. I was. It's about leadership. Yes, it is. Crime is up 12.8%, regardless of how many certifications the agency has. That's the outside of the cup. The inside of the cup is, what are you getting for that bang? Every one of those certifications costs a minimum of $25,000 and to have the people come in and evaluate. You paid for that. He didn't pay. It's not free. And every one of those certifications you paid for. If you look at, he wants to compare us all the way back to 1998. We're not paying for 1998. We're still paying for the past 4 years, though. You are. It's coming out of your wallet. I'm telling you, this is what it's all about. Your wallet and your safety. That's it in a nutshell. Your safety, and he's right about the safety part, but he's not telling you about the wallet part. I think if you look at Webb, I've been endorsed by a number of organizations and I'm supported by the Realtors Association. There's a reason for that. Business people know you can't entice people to come here when the crime rate, when we're ranked 58th in the whole entire state. There's only like 8 or 9 that's worse off than we are as far as crime increase in the past 4 years. That's unacceptable. I've been endorsed by the Citrus County Right to Life, the state Right to Life. I've been rated by the NRA as an AQ. My opponent's rated an F by the National Rifle Association. That should be a clue. If you want to keep doing it the way we've been doing it, you know who to elect. If you want some honest change, let's look at how we can save some money. Let's get rid of the bloat at the top, and let's put some people on the street and give them some pay raises so they can actually get out, and also eliminate what they're required to do for officer standards so they have a little more time to catch the bad. These guys know the bad guys on the street. They're just too busy getting their tickets and whatnot that they have to get every 28-day rotation cycle. Thank you.